I hope everybody is having a great day. There is all sorts of content out there about writing. I wanted to spend a few minutes going over some hacks that I've seen recently that I tend to think can create value for you, for your organization, for those that you serve. And yes, some of these things tend to be about actual writing, like commas and periods and stuff like that. It's also thinking through some storytelling concepts and how we can make sure that there is story behind content. Anybody can write anything, anybody can post anything, anyone can mail anything to me at any given point in time. How do we create material that people will actually consume, remember, and hopefully like? That is the opportunity that I think we have over these next few minutes. I will start with a very short research presentation, and you can go through these things and read them very quickly. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it. What I will tell you is very simple. Why are we doing what we are doing? If we don't know the answer, stop. Being able to understand our audience, their concerns, their challenges, whatever that looks like. Once you feel comfortable being able to answer those questions and then connect your content to their needs, that's when you start writing. If you embark upon this process without going through this journey, I tend to think you will be inefficient and ineffective, so just don't do it. What I think you ought to do is consider how we, again, think about a triangle, dot connecting, whatever cliche it is that you choose to use, right? So think about behaviors and what you hope people will think about, what people actually are thinking about, and then also thinking about your own individual brain, what you might tell yourself as part of that persuasive experience. You'll notice the triangle in the middle is a triggering event. And yes, that triggering event might seem a little psychological in nature, but really, I would argue that your strategic communication, and again, I think of writing in terms of paper and whatnot. You could argue there are scripts in video and audio and all sorts of communication. So this isn't necessarily a research paper or something where you have to use APA style. What it is understanding what you have, understanding what you want people to feel, understanding what they do feel, and then thinking about how your experience can help bring things together and create some sort of positive inertia. I also like this example of storytelling that has a little bit more of a strategic ting to it, but it also has more of a literary element to it, whether you like fiction or nonfiction or any other kind of writing. You've got characters and conflict and ideas. You have choices, and hopefully you have some kind of approach at the end that makes people feel good about the journey. Now, am I going to sit here and try to make myself into some sort of character that turns into a movie one day? Absolutely not. But we have to realize we live in a world where digital distractions are all over the place, including the 5 text messages I have literally since I started recording 4 minutes ago. We live in a distracted world. Stories slow people down, and storytelling frameworks that have worked for, I don't know, centuries still matter today. That means as I'm thinking about my writing, my communication, story is part of the journey. Yes, I might look through something like this and be able to understand what people need, but now can I use some kind of narrative approach that helps people remember what I'm trying to say and hopefully do so in an appreciative way? Another large graphic that you can read through, but I tend to think this is very helpful as you are thinking about storytelling models, the most familiar of which is that AIDA model: attention, interest, desire, and action. There's another video that goes over all of these in a little bit more detail. And do you have to use all of them? No. But what I really like to do with this approach is go through the same circumstance, think of the different models, and see which of those models might tend to work best based on where I am. Personally, I really like using AIDA the most, but that is my personal preference. The point is, you have choices, you have choices, you have choices. It doesn't always have to be cookie cutter. You have choices. Choices are good. You also have choice when it comes to color. And I will freely admit this is a very tricky slide for me because I am colorblind. I used to run around when I was a kid saying the grass was orange, and it wasn't. I will still talk to my kids about colors, and they'll be like, "Dad, none of this matches. What are you doing?" Because they're not colorblind. Great for them. Even though I struggle with colors mightily, there is psychology when it comes to color and marketing and strategic communication. Most brands pick their colors for a very specific reason. If they have not picked their brand for a very specific reason or their colors for a very specific reason, maybe they need to adjust. What does this mean for you? As a writer, my hope would be there is some kind of emotion that comes with your writing. As that writing occurs and as you think about those emotions, I would make the argument that colors, whether it is what someone is wearing, whether it is some kind of graphic support that you have that hopefully will align with brand standards, whether it is a call out box or any other number of things, my hope is that you can find some way where the emotion you want to convey might be able to connect and be reinforced with the colors that are in this area and the psychology that goes with them. Selfishly, and this is me speaking for me and me alone, I have a disproportionate amount of orange in my wardrobe. My kids say it's great because they can find me wherever it is that I go. And yes, it is a bright orange. And yes, I worked in Tennessee and the Tennessee Volunteers wore orange. But oddly enough, when you look here, you think about the idea of friendly, cheerful, confident, bold. I would make the argument I try to be cheerful. I try to be friendly. And people have said that my presentations in the past are bold and a little gregarious. Okay. Okay. It's great. Great. Did I know that necessarily? No. Did it work? Does it make sense now? Yeah, it kind of does a little bit. So just another resource you can think about to try and visualize the message it is that you want to send. While we're here, I also want to go through a couple of quick hacks with writing and thinking about sponsored content. So often we create social media, and yes, we can go through these exercises and then wonder, well, why didn't anybody look at this? And is our work really that successful? To which I'll make the argument that here are some reasonable benchmarks from the last few months that might be able to offer you some ideas on what success looks like with your paid social marketing and some average engagement rates out there on the various social media platforms. Those of you doing email marketing will also know that there are analytics in those areas as well. I just share this with you so that you, in your writing, can have some objective criteria to determine what success looks like, and that objective criteria can connect to trends so you're not setting yourself up for some high target that's impossible to reach, or you're not lowballing your work. You want to create value. This is a way to have a little more apples to apples approach in being able to do that. You'll also see some engagement here that looks at sponsored versus non-sponsored content. And I bring this up simply to justify the idea of having some sponsored material and having an ad buy with your social media, because yes, it will increase the reach through a paid audience. But as you are thinking about writing and spending any modest amount of money, you will also notice that not only do you get that paid bump, but magically enough, your organic, natural reach will tend to increase just a little bit as well. Who would have thunk it? Many people ask me about artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and say, well, that's just going to take away all of the writing, to which I will say, not necessarily, in part because ChatGPT collects everything that is open and available on the internet for the most part. And a lot of stuff on the internet, candidly, is written like crap. You will notice in ChatGPT and other forms of communication that basic outputs tend to have some significant problems. As I'm thinking about my writing, I will tell you one of the things I will look at is how many of these phrases are used in writing to determine whether or not I think they actually wrote it or whether it is just a GPT hack. And again, if it is a GPT hack, whatever, um, that's their choice. But you look at those phrases, it's verbal filler. It doesn't accentuate the story. And in a world, again, where we are so easily distracted, my gosh, let me see. Yeah, 2 more text messages in 4 more minutes. When you look at that, right? Time is such a precious commodity. We are so easily distracted. Phrases like this, while they may not seem like a big deal to you, this is the criteria that gets people bored. And when people are bored, this is where they go for their little mini dopamine hit. And oh my gosh, they start playing Block Blast or whatever it is they're doing. I would also tell you as a writer, avoid these phrases at all cost. And you got to look at these phrases and realize none of them add 1 ounce of value to what it is you're trying to accomplish. Zero. Find these phrases in your copy, highlight, delete. One final hack for those of you thinking about writing, my friend Eric Hansen posted these. They are Substack reads that he truly appreciates related to good strategic communication, good public relations, good social media marketing. Eric's one of the smartest people I know. So when he mentions these things with Substack and LinkedIn, I really believe that they are worth your time and consideration, again, to find additional resources to help you be your best you. I hope these writing hacks helped inspire some ideas for the rest of this year and give you some ideas moving forward. As always, if there are questions, call, email, tweet, do what you got to do. Be smart, be safe, be you, and have a great day.